And we're back in class. Vadim, the CBD professor from cbdschool.com, your school to learn all about cannabidiol. Today's video topic is about using CBD to help with symptoms that people get from fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is a disease where people have chronic pain as well as symptoms related to like migraines, pain in their joints, trouble sleeping, as well as some intestinal trouble too. Now, with fibromyalgia, it's mainly a condition, again, where you have a lot of chronic pain, so it's normally treated with different kinds of painkillers, sleep medication, as well as NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like Tylenol and Advil. So it's a condition mostly, again, that's characterized by chronic pain, and typically it's something people that just, not only do they have chronic pain, but it causes them other problems like insomnia and just disrupts their life because of that pain. People have been using cannabis, though, both THC and CBD products, as well as combination products of THC and CBD, and they've been finding that for some people it works a lot better than either over-the-counter painkillers or prescription medication, and that there's less side effects. The theory behind why cannabis medicine works for fibromyalgia is a theory that is called endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. So a guy I think I've mentioned a few times before named Dr. Ethan Russo, who is a cannabis researcher and medical doctor, he coined this term from his research called endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. He has a number of papers on this topic. The basic theory is that if someone's endocannabinoid system is low or deficient in cannabinoids, they are going to be more sensitive to pain and lead to common conditions like fibromyalgia, migraine headaches, and irritable bowel syndrome. The reason why an endocannabinoid deficiency may contribute to these conditions, and again, this is just a theory for now, it's not exactly proven yet, but it does, it makes a lot of sense. But endocannabinoids are neuromodulators, so they modulate the activity of a neuron, and part of that modulation is they regulate the perception of pain. So as you can imagine, if you are low on these modulators, you're going to be more sensitive to pain, and that's exactly what people with fibromyalgia are dealing with. They're more sensitive to pain. They have a overactive, it's called hyperalgesia, which is just a term for when a person is hypersensitive to pain. So, like I said, as far as what people are using, CBD is obviously useful for pain. It's an anti-inflammatory. THC as well is useful for pain, and it helps with sleep. They work, THC and CBD together have been shown to work even better for pain when they're used together than apart. And some of the benefits that people are reporting that use it for pain is, of course, like I said, of course, pain relief, just a better mood, so less anxiety about their pain. Because when people have pain, and I've had this too, I know if something hurts, like if I go running, or recently I took a backpacking trip and I hurt I did something, and it just, like every morning when I would wake up and it would hurt, it would it's like I know it wasn't a mystery. I knew why it hurt. It's just it would annoy me that I had this pain, and it would cause me anxiety because I can't say this for everybody, but I know if something like that hurts, I feel like not as mobile, like as flexible as I could, and until it goes away, I'm kind of a little bit more anxious about it because I'm like thinking, when is this going to go away? So one of the things that cannabis helps people with that might be dealing with fibromyalgia is a reduction of that anxiety about their pain as well as the pain itself. Helps people with sleep, and most importantly, if it helps them either get off or lower their dose of a drug that was causing them negative side effects, that is huge. As far as negative side effects with CBD for fibromyalgia, it's pretty standard. You know, CBD in a high dose can be sedating, can make people drowsy. I always recommend you start off low and then, you know, work your way up to a dose that's more comfortable for you. And as far as like routes of delivery that you can use, I mean, the fastest methods of using cannabis would be inhalation, which is either smoking, but we prefer vaping to smoking because it's healthier than the actual inhaling smoke, or sublingual tincture, which goes under the tongue. Those are the fastest methods. Edibles, or, you know, edibles take longer, obviously, or a capsule that you swallow, it's going to take longer. And then the topical applications work well, but they would be for specific areas. But people have found that they are useful for pain, like a specific part of the body, but it's not going to work like the way a tincture would work, where it's, you know, like more distributed throughout your body. The topical application would be just local to like where you put it, which is fine. If you have a specific place where you have pain, you can use it there. And I would recommend, if you want to do more research on this, to check out the post. We have a post at CBD School on using CBD for fibromyalgia, and then I would also recommend you check out there's 3 versions basically. Russo kept updating. The first one was in 2004, the next one was in 2014, and then the next one was recently in 2016, where he kept updating this theory of endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. Lastly, I recommend you check out, there's a great interview with Martin Lee and Ethan Russo, the guy that wrote those papers, where he goes more into detail, and it's you might find that faster just on your way to work to put it on, or in the background while you're doing something. It might be faster for you than reading a paper, and you can take in the information that way. I like to do that a lot. So CBD for fibromyalgia, it's basically the concept of CBD and THC cannabinoids working as analgesics, which are pain relievers. And that is one of the main uses of cannabis for sure. It's been used as a natural pain reliever for thousands of years, going back before the time of Christ, so thousands of years. And this is one of the most, definitely the most effective uses of cannabis is for pain. And that's why it works for fibromyalgia. Leave me your questions below. Leave me comments if you have used CBD or THC or any kind of cannabis product for fibromyalgia. I'd love to hear your story, your successes, your failures, just whatever. I just want to hear people's stories. The anecdotal evidence for us is so important with cannabis, and it's for one main reason. The studies, this is what I'm going to finish with. The studies on cannabis are mostly done with synthetic single molecule cannabinoids. That means if you took THC, the closest thing to this would be like if you took THC out of a marijuana plant or CBD out of a hemp plant, and you took everything away from it. It was just the molecule itself, and then you tested it to see how well it would work. Well, it might work, but at the same time, you're eliminating an entourage effect. You're eliminating all the other beneficial compounds, like the terpenes that you would find in a whole plant extract. So the anecdotal evidence, even people that bought like black market marijuana and were using that for fibromyalgia, are interesting to us. Why? Because that is more in line with the theory of the entourage effect and how it is much more beneficial than a synthetic cannabinoid, especially one like the prescriptions that have been around forever, like Marinol or Nabilone, which they do work. It's just they're not as well tolerated, it doesn't seem, as whole plant extracts. They seem to have more side effects than whole plant extracts, and not as effective, and in some ways harder to dose. Like they almost are too strong, and a lot of that has to do with them being almost too good at binding. I heard, this is Dr. Russo actually, he was saying that it's almost like synthetic cannabinoids, and he actually used the example of one of the illegal one of the street synthetic cannabinoids called K2 or Spice. It's like they're too good at binding to the cannabinoid receptor, whereas THC, which also binds to the CB1 receptor, it's good at it, but it doesn't do it. It's a partial agonist, so it doesn't completely bind to it, and it doesn't cause as potent of an effect. And that's part of the theory on why synthetic cannabinoids they do work, but can sometimes be too intense and have stronger side effects. It's because they bind too well to the CB1 receptor, or they bind too much to it. So hope you'll forgive me for that long-winded outro. I usually try to keep these videos shorter, but I did want to share that information with you. Leave me your comments below. For CBDschool.com, this is Vadim, the CBD professor, signing out. Bye.